This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Well, talk about ripping the Band-Aid off all at once. This morning, Stellantis announced it's taking a massive $26 billion write-off of its EV investments. That includes an $8 billion payment to suppliers for canceled EV programs, as well as for selling off its battery plant in Canada. To preserve cash, Stellantis is canceling its dividend for 2026 and will issue $6 billion in new bonds. Investors reacted immediately to the news, sending the stock price down 24%. Here's our Autoline insight. This is a complete and total separation of the plan put forward by Carlos Tavares, the previous CEO of the company. He called it Dare Forward 2030, and the goal was to position Stellantis as the automotive leader in decarbonization. Tavares envisioned EVs accounting for 100% of the company's sales in Europe and 50% in the US by 2030, and he invested heavily to hit that target. As you know, those targets now look hopelessly optimistic, which is a big part of the reason why Mr. Tavares lost his job and why Stellantis had to take such a massive write-off. And the losses go well beyond Stellantis. Reuters points out that global automakers have now announced $55 billion in EV write-offs. Here's a few ways to put that in perspective. That's more money than the GDP of most small countries. In fact, Stellantis' $26 billion write-off alone is bigger than NASA's annual budget, and Reuters only included the write-offs from Stellantis, GM, Ford, and Volkswagen. So, no doubt other automakers will be writing off EV investments, and the final number for the whole industry is going to be much higher. China is also facing problems in EV land, or at least BYD is. Once the darling of EV investors, BYD's stock has been dropping steadily for the last 8 months as the company's EV sales started falling short of expectations. That drop has wiped out $60 billion from BYD's market cap, and analysts worry that other Chinese EV makers will lower their guidance later this year. Bloomberg quotes one analyst as saying, "This raises doubts about Chinese automakers' long-term ability to make profits in their home market." China dominates the production and processing of rare earth minerals, and that's given it massive bargaining power, even forcing President Trump to back off his trade war under the threat of losing access to rare earths. In response, the US and other countries are looking into opening new mines. But that isn't a great option because of environmental hazards, and the returns are generally low. But one rare earth expert says the US is sitting on a mountain of the minerals, and it can get them at a fraction of the cost. It's all about getting rare earths out of mining waste, as well as from retired passenger jets, decommissioned ships, and old electronics. According to a study by the Colorado School of Mines, the U.S. could meet most of its critical metal needs for the foreseeable future simply by recovering the materials from mine waste. And speaking of trying to reduce dependence on China, the auto industry is also scrambling to remove Chinese technology from vehicles. By the middle of March, new rules go into effect in the U.S. that will ban Chinese software in vehicle systems that connect to the cloud. The products must not contain any code that was written in China or by a Chinese company. But that's not an easy process. Automakers usually buy electronics from Tier 1 suppliers, which sometimes source software from smaller suppliers or joint ventures in China. And suppliers are reluctant to give automakers source code information since it's proprietary. But it's not easy for automakers to switch suppliers because automotive code is generally custom made, and it's risky to change it for existing vehicles. And at the same time the US is restricting Chinese software, Tesla has started training its AI technologies in China for assisted driving in China.
Performance that shines, even in the rain. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Potenza tires, improved grip in wet conditions.
Toyota just made a big executive change. CEO Koji Sato is being moved to vice chairman of the board of directors and is also being named chief industry officer, which is a newly created role. Toyota didn't give specific details about the new position, but says Sato will focus on, quote, the broader industry. Replacing Sato as CEO is current operating officer and CFO Kenta Kan. Toyota says Kan will focus on internal company management, and the changes go into effect on April 1st. According to the NADA, or National Automobile Dealers Association, the U.S. needs to add about 76,000 technicians a year, so there's not a shortage of the people who fix our cars and trucks. But right now, the rate of new mechanics coming in is not enough to offset the amount that are retiring or transitioning into a new industry. Ford CEO Jim Farley has been very vocal about the need to fill this void in skilled labor, and the automaker just announced that it will be one of the first companies to launch an NADA program that helps dealerships build in-house apprenticeships for technicians and expand training. Ford will roll out the program to dealers across the U.S., where over a year and a half to 2 years, apprentices will get over 2,000 hours of hands-on training and roughly 400 hours of technical instruction with a focus on electrification. At the end of it, they'll graduate with a nationally recognized credential. There's also a possible financial incentive for dealers in the form of tax credits and federal aid, depending on the state where they operate. And speaking of Ford CEO Jim Farley, he posted a few pictures on social media of the team that's working on its universal EV platform. One in particular caught our attention. It has two people with big grins on their faces looking at what appears to be the HVAC control unit. But it's the vehicle in the background that we're interested in. I think this could be the front end. I believe we get a peek at the vehicle's large gigacastings right in between the two people's arms. Farley says there's two big castings on the truck, which will replace 146 parts. And the background vehicle also looks like it could have a large windshield that sits far forward. I think the windshield could end around where the yellow towel is in this picture of a team member polishing the front end. And the first place my mind went to was the Tesla Cybertruck. It's my opinion that this looks similar to the Cybertruck with its body panels pulled off that we got to see at vehicle benchmarking specialist Caresoft. But that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. CSP, the composites solution partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
Developing today's vehicles, issues can happen in an instant. What good is knowing your problems without the data to solve them? Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure off-the-shelf solution, empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
Ward's is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.